There's a moment in everyone's life when curiosity overrides reason, when the allure of the forbidden becomes irresistible. For me, that moment came on a stormy autumn evening. I was rummaging through the attic of a house my family had just purchased, a house that had stood abandoned for decades. The air was thick with the scent of mildew, and the floorboards groaned under my weight. Among the cobweb-covered furniture and forgotten trinkets, I found it. An old, tattered notebook. Its black cover was faded, and the edges of the pages were frayed. Scrawled across the front in shaky, almost illegible handwriting were the words, "Death Note." At first, I thought it was just an edgy teenage diary left behind by a previous occupant. I flipped it open, expecting angsty poetry or melodramatic rants. Instead, the first page contained a list of rules written in a language I didn't recognize at first, but beneath the strange script was a translation, as if the book wanted me to understand. The person whose name is written in this notebook will cease to exist. All memories and records of them will vanish, as if they never lived. The user must write a name and visualize the face of the individual to activate the Death Note's power. Each name written erodes a fragment of the user's soul. Use sparingly. I laughed it off. It sounded ridiculous, like a knockoff urban legend, but there was something unsettling about the simplicity of it, and the last rule sent a shiver down my spine. Still, my curiosity was piqued. I pocketed the notebook and brought it downstairs. That night, as the rain lashed against the windows, I decided to test it. After all, what harm could come from indulging a little curiosity? I sat at my desk, staring at the blank pages of the notebook. A name came to mind, an old classmate of mine, Ethan, who had bullied me relentlessly throughout high school. I hadn't thought about him in years, but his sneering face surfaced as I held the pen. With a nervous chuckle, I wrote his name, imagining his face as clearly as I could. For a moment, nothing happened. I felt ridiculous, like a kid playing with a Ouija board. Then something shifted. The air in the room grew colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch and deepen. I felt a strange tugging sensation in my chest, like something was being pulled out of me. My hands trembled as I closed the notebook and shoved it into a drawer. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, I woke to a world subtly, but undeniably different. Ethan was gone, not just dead, but erased. No one remembered him. His name was absent from yearbooks and social media. Photos in which he had once stood now featured empty spaces. It was as if he had never existed. The realization filled me with equal parts awe and terror. The notebook worked. It wasn't a joke or a hoax. I had erased someone from reality itself. Over the next few weeks, I became obsessed. I tested the Death Note again and again, erasing criminals and people who had wronged me. With each name I wrote, the world seemed a little brighter, a little cleaner, but something was off. The more I used the notebook, the more I felt it. A heaviness in my chest, like a weight pressing down on my very soul. My reflection in the mirror began to change. My eyes grew hollow, my skin pale and stretched. I chalked it up to stress, to lack of sleep. But deep down, I knew the truth. The notebook was consuming me. One night, as I prepared to write another name, the air around me grew unnaturally still. A chill crept through the room, and the shadows seemed to coalesce into a single, towering figure. It stood before me, its form shifting and flickering like a flame. Its face was a void, featureless and infinite. "You've been busy," it said, its voice a low, echoing growl. I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it had closed up. Do you understand what you've done? It continued. Every name you write takes a piece of you. You are unraveling bit by bit. Soon, there will be nothing left. I wanted to argue, to scream that I was in control, that I could stop any time I wanted. But deep down, I knew it was right. I had become addicted to the power, to the feeling of playing God, and now I was paying the price. Over the following days, my transformation accelerated. My reflection no longer resembled me. My eyes were empty pits, my skin gray and cracked. People began to forget me, just as they had forgotten the names I had written. It was as if I were erasing myself from existence. In a desperate attempt to break free, I tried to destroy the notebook. I burned it, shredded it, drowned it in water. But no matter what I did, it always reappeared, pristine and waiting for me. I was bound to it, and it to me. I've come to realize that there's only one way to end this. I must write my own name in the death note. Perhaps then I can escape the curse. Or perhaps I will become something else entirely. A shadow, a memory, a whisper in the dark. If you've found this notebook, heed my warning. Leave it where it lies. Do not open it. Do not touch it. And whatever you do, do not write in it, because the price of power is far greater than you can imagine.